Okay.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Morning.
Woo! First talk.
You came to our talk. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this moment with us. I'm Rachel. I'm the exec producer from Epic's Innovation Lab in London, and I'm very happy and grateful to be sharing the stage with some friends who I'd love to introduce themselves. Bryon,
Sure, yeah.
Tell us all about you and your team at Nike.
Yeah, I'm Bryon Panaia. I lead the global brand experience and innovation team at Nike. We're a unique team at the brand. We do a lot of the consumer-facing experiences across retail, live, and then virtual was kind of like something that we started to delve into a few years ago, and we've actually built a team out now that does experiential projects that are around immersive storytelling and trying to push technology and the way that we engage with people in new ways.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Alex, who
Nice.
are you?
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Alex Hammond. I'm a creative director at the Epic Innovation Lab in London. Rachel and I work together obviously at the lab. My background's in visual effects. I'm a 3D artist at heart, so made a lot. Thank you, Ryan. I've made a lot of digital content in my time, and our team at the lab is all about supporting creators and guiding anyone that uses our tools and products.
Exactly. So I guess to kind of tee up, I think I sort of put this in the summary for the talk, like this was a bit of a crazy project for lots of reasons. I guess probably the central challenge was that we were working in an alpha version of the product. So the product hadn't even been shipped, so things like features were kind of continuing to move all the time, so goalposts shifting, things going down constantly, as the team at Beyond know very well. Thanks for coming, guys, by the way. Yeah. So yeah, this was a pretty wild one, and I have to say, like, honestly, a career highlight for me, like just
Same.
being able to kind of work in the way that we love, but just slightly differently, and obviously with a partner like Nike. So yeah, I think we're moving on.
We have a little bit of a
Oh yes, we've got a little sizzle to show you.
A sizzle reel, just to talk, like we'll talk about the experience, but take you guys through just kind of like look and feel, a little bit of a recap. Nike loves a good sizzle reel, so.
Hold on. How many people jumped in and played, by the way?
Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay,
Any
awesome.
sneakerheads in the audience? Yeah?
Hey.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay,
Cool.
you're in the right place.
So Bryon, let's kind of start at the beginning. So where did the sort of whole idea of doing this project come from?
Yeah, Nike is always looking at how we innovate storytelling and the way that we tell stories. We have amazing IP. We have like an embarrassment of riches across our athletes, our products, and we as a team had a dream to kind of do something like this for a very long time. but it was really, really hard for us to find kind of a platform to do it within. I actually pitched the idea about 2 years ago, and there was, some lack of understanding of, how we could do this, where we could bring it to life. But basically through some conversations, our connection with Epic, it started to take a bit of shape. So, we kind of had a huge dream and really didn't have quite the partnership or like the knowledge of where to put it exactly. But it was pretty much a labor of love just to even kind of like form the idea within the company.
And you already had skins in development, right?
Yeah, we had, so these are the kind of like the skins in the bundle that we had started developing. And this is kind of like really at the heart of the project. I think this was an amazing experience to do these. We basically took some of our current products. We had a new Air Max launching that was called the Pulse. So we wanted to develop some storytelling and a character around that, which is Airy on the left. And then we created another character named Max, Maxed Out Max, which is based off of one of our most classic silhouettes, the Air Max 1, which we relaunched this year. And so we had started kind of like building out these characters and this kit, when the opportunity presented itself to kind of back that up with more of a world to put them in. And so, yeah, like basically we had the skins, which was kind of like the first part of the formula. Epic came to us and said, hey, we have this new product that we're working on where you guys can actually build a world. And we thought like, well, that's going to be awesome because that's kind of our dream, I think, yeah, thank you. I worked really, this was a collaborative slide. This, just so you know, a lot of work probably went into this part of the presentation.
This really sums up.
Exactly.
It kind of sums up the experience. but honestly, like for us, like having the ability to create skins was just amazing to start with, but to be able to put that together into a world and create interaction and develop an experience for people to kind of like combine those elements and really put the whole idea together, that was where the dream kind of came true for us. And that was like it was just amazing. And doing it with a tool like UEFN was just like kind of the missing element, I would say, that we were kind of like introduced. So we saw like a demo of the product.
The demo.
You can talk a little about the demo.
The demo, which we can't show for legal reasons. But we at the lab had been playing around with the alpha version of the tool for a long time. And our boss, Alistair, who's in the audience, suggested that we kind of focus our energies and our learnings around a specific experience. And because we all love Nikes, we made it for Nike. Although I must warn you guys about the sort of the idea of presenting Nike something that we felt was Nike to Nike. There were giants throwing footballs, I think. Yeah. So
it
Nike.
Was great. We really, the reality was like, when we saw the demo that you guys had created, it really just kind of unlocked, it was like seeing the future, honestly, because it was a whole world built around our products, and you guys pitched us this opportunity to use something, although it was an alpha, it just completely unlocked the potential in our minds because we had been looking for a place to do this, a partner to do this with. So the demo was actually like kind of
special.
It was very special.
The fire starter.
It's a special moment.
Exactly. And I think sort of an obvious one to say, but you have to choose the right partner to do crazy things like this. And someone who would weather the storms, of which there were many, together with you and feel like you were truly in this as a partner. And we very much obviously found that in Nike.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of kind of building on that as well. There's obviously a very practical reason why we chose to get behind this project. We had never actually used this tool before, so for us to give kind of guidance and support to our creators, we kind of need to know the tools inside out. So what better way to kind of stress test it and put it into this huge production with Nike?
Yeah.
And beyond creative as well.
Beyond creative.
We're on the crazy ride with us.
Get them on board, and it was, fair to say, it was.
We were excited. There was a lot
ride.
of passion behind it.
Yeah, there was,
Exactly.
absolutely. There was definitely a huge amount of kind of excitement to get going on it. But, and it kind of, internally speaking, It's good that we can kind of obtain all this information, this data, understand the bugs, where the blockers are, the stress points, and sort of feed that back into our own internal development team. So many reasons to get behind it.
Cool, okay, so let's go right back to the beginning in terms of Airphoria. So the concept, like Bryon, like where did that all come from?
Yeah, like I mentioned, for us at Nike, it's really important to keep pushing our storytelling, and we're really focused on next generation experiences and how we bring kind of innovative stories to life. So we had started to really think about how would we take Air Max and turn that into an actual world, right? So we looked at our products, we pulled kind of elements from the products themselves, and through that, in partnership with the lab team at Epic and Beyond Creative, started to kind of build basically a world out of air, which is Airphoria. And the Airphoria is like, it's a three-tiered kind of multi-level experience. You're spawned into a subway station, which is built after the Air Max 97, and then there's an underground level that's inspired by the Pulse. And through that kind of quest, you're going after grails, right? So we kind of like, in partnership with these guys, built this all out and really like pushed our dreams in a really, really intense way. I think we really pushed the system, even though it was brand new. Like we did break it, I think, a few times.
It broke us as well.
I'm sorry to hear that, Alex. You never showed it. Yeah. So basically, like the whole goal of this was to create an epic sneaker hunt. You know, we know that people chasing after sneakers is already like, you know, a thing that we're all doing, and to be able to do that in this imaginary world that's built of air was kind of the dream of it.
Okay, so I feel like there's probably quite a lot of creators in the audience, but for those that don't know, tell us a bit more about the UEFN product, Alex, and kind of specifically what you're gaining as a creator.
Yeah, sure. It's a professionalized version of Fortnite Creative. So, you know, anyone that's familiar with Fortnite Creative understands this concept of building a game with the sort of predefined assets and libraries and mechanics and devices that you can get hold of inside the game. UEFN exposes Unreal Editor, and it just allows you to kind of bring in your own content and really sort of craft a much more unique experience and aesthetic. It's, you know, I mean, really, there's kind of no limits, especially when you start tuning into the verse programming language. You can kind of define your own rules for the game. So yeah, a lot of opportunities when using UEFN.
Cool, yeah, no, totally agree. And I think less limits means obviously more opportunities and the potential to design and really customize. But tell me, Bryon, like how, you know, seeing and understanding this product, like what that meant to you and to Nike.
Yeah, I mean, like Alex mentioned, it was kind of sky's the limit. And we really pushed our ideas, like, you know, as we do as a brand, we wanted to innovate in the space as much as possible. So it meant us being able to build, you know, planes, trains, like you can kind of see some of the things that we created here. The Air Max 97 train was a custom asset that is, you know, something that I really deeply loved. Shoebox Tower, we built a shoe out of another Air Max, and really just like, we continue to push our ideas and try to innovate in not only the gameplay, but the design and the look and feel of the world. So the tool actually gave us the ability to do that. And sometimes, you know, we had massive dreams. I think actually the world was probably even bigger than, you know, what we landed on, but that was still a pretty epically huge experience that we built.
I think there was a few kind of early conversations, setting
Yes.
expectations.
Yeah, we had some hard talk. We had some hard.
Exactly. I think, you know, with this sort of new tool and this idea of no limits, I think actually, like, it is a bit of a kind of gear shift in terms of like how you sort of develop your ideas. I think, you know, what we learned so much, wasn't it, that we, you know, needed to kind of almost on paper, like map this out first. You have to kind of really like develop the idea before you jump in, like, whereas with Fortnite Creative, you probably just get in and start kit bashing. So it is a bit of a sort of step change.
Yeah.
So let's kind of really get into the meat of the process, like, Bryon, because I think hopefully everyone here will love to sort of, you know, understand how that kind of worked and how you went about attacking this.
Yeah. Like this example of the shoebox tower, I think is a good one. You know, we would kind of
An early only up.
and yes, we should have kept
Ahead
going.
of our time, I think.
But we had you know, we had the idea to build kind of like an anchoring element in the middle of the island in Air Max City, and so we wanted to build a skyscraper. The team wanted to build a skyscraper out of shoeboxes that kind of looked a little bit something like New York City, you know, Times Square inspired, but it was a playable element. So we created sketches, we would map things out, we would then share that with Epic and beyond. And I think the really incredible thing for us was like each time we met with the team, you know, and we were in constant communication, it was not a formal process, but once we would kind of share over a document with like our sketches and the world kind of concept built out a little bit, what they came back with every time continued to blow our mind. So it was like every idea was a collaborative effort, and where our team, you know, kind of like stopped, Epic and beyond kind of like carried on and then pushed the ideas further. And I think that was like those initial meetings in the process were the part where, to me, was almost the most rewarding, because it was just like, this is going to be unbelievable what we're going to be able to do together. And that process continued through the months and months of development. Every time our kind of ideas coming to life, you know, were refined and curated and designed more and more. The team was just amazing with what they could, the level of detail that we were able to get to with this, from a macro scale all the way down to kind of like the smallest element. You know, it was just amazing with the amount of custom assets.
Love
Yeah,
it.
there's a huge amount of detail in that box
Yeah,
down, and
my
we
goodness.
kind of let you into a little secret here, Bryon, but we rebuilt this box
really?
tower quite a few times.
Quite a few?
We
Quite a
didn't know.
few, yeah.
Like you said, there was some suffering behind the scenes.
You know, as we were learning the tool, we were just kind of understanding how to really get the most out of it, basically. And from a kind of memory optimization perspective, you know, this is a big asset with a lot of detail. So, kind of as the process evolved, we learned how to build it in the right way, you know, to make it more sort of efficient in game.
Also, do you want to elaborate on like kind of key learnings that like we found as we kind of went through the process?
Yeah, I mean, again, building on this idea that you've got far less limitations in UEFN in what you can create. You've kind of got to really take a step back and plan things very well. A lot of the planning goes into what we call a game design document, and this sort of outlines everything that we wanted to put into the game. You know, what type of game is it? What sort of mechanics do we want to put in there? What's the ideal player journey? And so it really does become like the blueprint for your game, and you know, along the way you try and not deviate from that
Source of truth.
EDD. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, again, as we were learning the tool, we got a much better understanding of how to profile the memory inside the game, and you know, I think that really is an important point, is that when you're building something on this scale, you really have to understand that everything you put in there is going to have an impact in the game in some way. So,
do you remember when you tested the shoebox tower? Was it Liam? Because Beyond could get up in like.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, when Beyond started putting the mechanics into this tower, and it's a timed event, so you've obviously got to get up there as quick as you can. But I think in the first go, you'd set an almost impossible challenge of getting up. Then only you guys could do it.
We wanted to make it difficult, but
I don't know how you did it, but you're obviously very good at playing Fortnite.
At what you do.
I do think what's amazing about this, though, is just this one element, the amount of content that we were able to incorporate into it, all the custom assets that were created, you know, and then applied, plus the gameplay interaction. It's just, again, kind of sky's the limit for everything to be able to do.
Cool. So, Alex, obviously you've explained that you come from a 3D background. You're a 3D artist fundamentally. How did this tool, like this new tool, feel for you as an artist?
Yeah, so it's, you know, it's for me as a sort of as a VFX artist. You know, I've spent many years kind of building assets and then rendering them, and this rendering process effectively flattens the image into a 2D image. You know, you're reviewing everything on a timeline and going back, tweaking the asset, rendering it again. So, you know, for me, coming into this space, into UEFN, it's really liberating that you can kind of put your content into the game and explore it and really understand the physical aspects of it. And the more you sort of play with that asset, the more you design and iterate on it. And it's such a rewarding experience when you actually kind of make that content and can actually look around it.
And this is a good example of that. Like, this is the Museum Max. Do you want to talk about that and how you built that?
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, like the sort of shoebox tower. It's a key sort of element in the world. And it's sort of a game in itself. Like, when you go into the museum, you have to explore around it. You have to kind of fly through the tubes and collect the grail that's in the tube that then allows you to sort of ascend up into the top layer of the city. So
it's just a beautiful, beautiful spot. I'm just looking at this footage. It's like such an amazing space.
Nice.
We love
Labour of love from Julian, from our team in the lab. Big up Julian. Don't know if he's made it here.
But the level of it was such a, you can see the sort of like lighting scenarios that we went through, but it just all the gorgeous artwork that went into it as well. It's that's again on this idea of sort of displaying your work in this space is quite a. I just love that concept.
Cool. So. How, we've talked about the level of detail in everything, Bryon, like, to be honest, it's layers upon layers of amazing detail. So, like, how do you go about doing that? Like, what does your team look like, and who are the people you need?
Yeah, we have a really unique team. I kind of always compare them to the Imagineers at Nike, basically. They're graphic designers, architects, there are fine artists. It's a mixture of skills. Because we work across so many different types of platforms and experiential design and immersive storytelling, everyone's like kind of able to be welcomed into it, I'd say. There's so many different components to it. So for us, like, this was kind of a dream project because it was able to bring together all of that. And the way we work is very multidisciplinary. We work across so many different media. There's audio design in this. Obviously, like, I think as a good element, this Museum Max had artwork inside of it. It was playable. It was like a player-driven experience, but still required kind of all these components of design.
I mean, it was staggering for us.
Like,
the stuff that came through, we were like, how, where, how have you had time to create this stuff?
But I do think like a key piece for our team, like what's at the heart of the work that we do and is critical at Nike, but I also think it really played well with you guys, was just the collaboration. I
totally.
think we tend to kind of like help accelerate other projects.
Yeah.
And I think you guys kind of operated like that. So when the two teams came together, the three teams, I should say, it was a super team. And just like the collaboration was so fluid and
it really was, yeah. And it was like, at the beginning of the project, understanding each other's areas of strength. How do we collaborate in this space? How do we get the best out of everyone? You've got obviously from Nike, you've got the kind of incredible design team that comes with that.
Spoiled rotten in that.
Yeah, it was, everything was immaculately designed.
Thank you.
No
we
worries.
Try.
And obviously working with Bryon, they've built a lot of experiences in Fortnite Creative. They understand the culture of Fortnite in that sense. So, and our own team at the lab, we've got we're okay. We've got a good experience in building assets, building content, a very strong visual effects background from all of us. So. We all kind of like slowly started figuring out, okay, right, you're going to be good at doing this part and how, you're going to understand this section of it. So it really was a dream team.
It was, it totally was.
Yeah, this obviously has such a unique look, like really doesn't look like anything that we've seen in Fortnite before. But like, let's get real here for a second.
Get real.
This was a pretty big undertaking, like, you know, and lots of people were involved. Am I right? Yes.
There was. Yeah.
So tell us, like, because, you know, anyone, you know, who wants to emulate this or follow in those footsteps, like, what kinds of people did we have on the project, and how did they all kind of interplay?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you say, it was a huge production in that sense, and so, you know, we kind of we make sure that we've got all the right kind of individual skill sets in order to build this game. You know, we kind of think of things as like a pre-production phase, and obviously if you haven't got an absolute powerhouse of Nike design team behind you, then you're going to have to go and find people, you know, concept artists and designers and drawers who can actually think outside of the engine. You know, it's very important that you kind of you design things in that way and think about it extracted from the tool. You know, obviously there's a lot of technical artists that worked on this. You know, they're sort of like the more generalist kind of 3D artists who understand the engine very well. And you know, it's an amazing tool that it allows you to kind of put in this incredible sort of cinematic content. So from that side of things, you know, having people who understand how to edit, you know, kind of create a story and then work well with cameras and lay out a timeline and, you know, think much more in a cinematic way. Obviously, producers and EPs.
Shout out to the producers.
Shout out. And, you know, that...
Vital.
Absolutely.
Pivotal.
You know, they
Glue
glue
that holds
everything together.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
really does. And especially, you know, as a...
I know.
As a, you know, working with a big brand like Nike, you've got to interpret what an EP does. Is they can kind of interpret the brand, and any feedback that they're given, they can kind of filter that back into the project in a way that, you know, it's. I'd say, is that fair?
Yeah.
Accurate.
I'll take it.
You know, it's sort of like kind of anyone can come into the space. That's the beauty of working in this sort of environment. It does cater for
Space for everybody.
everyone. Yeah.
So it wasn't easy being the first. It's like the path for first movers, you know, can sometimes be an uncomfortable one. We definitely had some uncomfortable moments, I would say. Maybe some happy accidents, as your
as Alex
positive spin on
I use that word a lot. So,
but I also remember some, like, you know, going into some conversations with you, Bryon, being like, oh God, this is going to be bad. Because, you know, everything was shifting so much. But yeah, like, tell us about some of that stuff and how it felt to you.
Yeah, I mean, we knew, I think we didn't all realize what we were getting into at the beginning, but probably that's a good thing.
That's innovation.
Yes, it is. It's sloppy. And I think, you know, we had dreams of how the world would look, and then we had dreams of how the world would operate. And some things that we wanted to do just weren't possible in the tool at the time. One of the things that we were trying to figure out is how to reward players for coming through the experience. And we wanted to do that with an Air Max 1 back bling. And our goal was to try to get that to as many players as possible and incite like a really exciting quest line around it. But because that wasn't, you know, possible with some of the tools at the time, we had to kind of come up with an innovative solution and how to kind of reward players. And so what we did, we basically turned it into like a marketing tool. And so we marketed that anybody who came in and did the experience would be rewarded with an Air Max 1 back bling. And we kind of like pegged that as the largest sneaker drop in history, which it ended up ultimately being. We were able to give away over 2.5 million of the back bling. So because of some of the limitations, I think, with how we were thinking about the quest line and the interaction, it actually led us to a more innovative solution that allowed us to market it in a fun way, turn it into, you know, a happy accident was like a really, really good thing for the brand in the end. And I just think that was like a lot of the ways that we had to think through this was, you know, if you hit a wall, you have to turn and try to find another way, you know, kind of through through to develop a new solution. And I feel like, again, the collaboration.
I was literally just going to say that, yeah.
The goal was always kind of like there.
It doesn't work with everybody. Like,
yeah.
it's it was good that it was us.
It was really, really good, but I think there were quite a few of those. That was the biggest one, but it was just, I still remember the conversation. And then I remember once we kind of developed the solution, it was like, this is actually going to be even better now that we've come up with this.
Turn it into a positive.
Yes,
exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think this kind of virtual space does sort of, allow, these happy accidents are a good thing, because you end up iterating on the design the more that you play the game. And it's kind of, everyone's been there when they're playing a game and suddenly they discover something about the game that maybe wasn't intentionally put in there from a design perspective, but you kind of use those happy accidents to kind of build it and develop it and make it an even better sort of solution. So, it's a key takeout for us was that you constantly play it. As soon as you change anything, you really want to understand quickly the impact of how that change is going to work, and if it's going to improve the game, if it's not, all those sort of fine details.
I do want to mention the pizza rat is not an accident. That was very intentional, and it was in our contract with Epic that needed to be included in the experience. So
there's a giant
some
one
things
in the
are
back
planned, yes.
Okay, so right at the beginning of the experience, you get this cinematic, which I feel like for me was really like leveled everything up, because we suddenly have this amazing story which centers around our two characters here, our skins, who became the antagonist and protagonist in our story. I mean, they are just amazing, like visually speaking, but also like had such like potential for sort of storytelling. So the two of them, Max and Aerie. So Max became our antagonist. So he's the ultimate sneakerhead. He has to, he's desperate to complete his collection with the elusive air grails. And then there's Aerie on the left, who's our protagonist. She's the guardian of Airphoria and the vault. So yeah, just them together and this storytelling, was such an opportunity for us, and I think we really built that into the cinematic, which is what we're going to talk about now. So cue cinematic.
All right. But it's still so good.
It is so good, isn't it?
I think I've seen it so
team
many
really
times.
killed it on that. It was really fun, yeah.
The audio as well. It's just absolutely amazing.
So tell us more about Max and Aerie and their characters and kind of what they mean.
Yeah, so Max and Aerie, like Rachel mentioned, were two characters that we built off of products. One is like about innovation exposed. That's Aerie, like, she looks like an airbag, and Max is this obsessive collector. We really wanted to try to put more depth and meaning into the game, and so having the characters to be able to tell their story, it's very nerdy detail, but we really geek out about these kind of things. It has to all kind of make sense. You have the world, you have the characters, what's the quest about? And it was also like, the cinematic kind of unpacks a little bit of the inciting incident for the gameplay too, the sneaker hunt, and we really wanted to create an exciting game that had meaning, that wasn't just a branded experience. We know that as brands go into this space, it's a very touchy thing. It can be off-putting. You have to have authenticity, like anything else, and I think Nike tries to do that. So the characters themselves and building the world around the characters and the storytelling around the characters was just really critical to kind of lay the foundation for everything else that we were going to build on top of.
Totally. And then, like, tell us in kind of practical terms, like, how do you go about making something like that out of game?
Yeah, it's it's good to obviously say that this was created entirely from everything that we had made in the game. So it's an interesting. I quite like referring to this at the start of the process as sort of virtual scouting. As you're building the game and kind of developing it more, you end up kind of going in there and virtually kind of scouting areas to build up the cinematic. In a sort of on a film in the kind of real world sense, you would go through that process as well. You'd go to the location and start finding areas that you wanna film. But obviously in game, you don't have those kind of constraints of the logistics of putting a camera down a road and sectioning something off, or being very kind of strict about what you can and can't film. So it's a really interesting process that you start. We knew what the story was about, and we kind of had kind of loosely sketched out storyboards to understand the sequence of events. But it's only like when you actually really get into the space, you can actually kind of really start fine-tuning all those different elements.
I think for us, what was really powerful was, the world that we had built, we were able to create content from that, and then pull elements out and to use for our marketing as well. Because that's, Nike is really big about the storytelling that we place into our marketing. So this, not only did we build a world, we were able to literally extract these elements, the cinematic being one of them, that we turned into a marketing campaign around it, So that's typically two bodies of work. You create a product, then you market it. This allowed us to do everything at once, and I think for brands that's going to be like a massive unlock. And as this tool is so powerful to be able to do something like this, it was really incredible for us on the brand side to kind of experience that.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning as well that big shout to Moran, who's our sort of cinematic director. We'd all sit together, Bryon, myself, and Moran, and go through the shots and very easily start tuning different camera angles. I remember there's a moment in Max's lair where you see the reveal of him, and you sort of said, why don't you just swing the camera a little bit, and then we can kind of really show his extensive collection of shoes. And that, it's so powerful how you can just kind of keep building on the story.
Cool. I mean, no secret, but I'm obsessed with these characters. I think they're amazing. I mean, we're going to have to take a moment in a second for the Airphorians.
The Airphorians, yeah.
Just watch some of those videos. It makes me cry.
This is actually Alex in a mocap suit.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's.
He's got moves.
Yeah, I mean, no editing either. That's straight out of first take as well. Nailed it.
But I really feel like they have legs as characters, and I honestly start in my mind which is maybe weird, but thinking about, for example, Max's backstory and how we could see more of that. He is the ultimate sneaker hunt. Where's he queuing? Where is he in line for? And I was kind of thinking the sort of scrapes that he might get into in his pursuit for whatever sneaker is coming and stuff like that. And then, I mean, the Airphorians are just too good. Do you want to tell us more about it?
Yeah, I mean, I credit to John Dunn on our team for creating the Airphorians. Huge shout to John. Essentially, we were looking for who are the citizens. Again, getting into the geeky details. We love the world building, so we want to really kind of make sure that it's all there. But the Airphorians are the inhabitants of Airphoria, right? And they are pure air. They love Nikes, so they're always rocking some different styles. They've obviously got dance moves. But yeah, we are, I think for us as a brand, what's really exciting now in doing projects like this is creating new IP. And where Max and Ari are, they're essentially a collaboration with Fortnite, but it's a new IP that people can go out and experience and play as. The Airphorians are a part of that as well. So I think for us, we're looking to kind of continue to develop new characters and build worlds and experiences around those, and do that in partnership with Epic. And definitely there's more in store for the Airphorians ahead of us.
Yeah.
Good. Spoiler alert.
You heard it here first. Here we go. Yeah, these Airphorians, or what we call NPC characters, non-playable characters, they really add an extra dimension to the game. They kind of connect you much deeper into the
Tell more of the story.
into the world building. So, anyone that's used UEFN or Unreal, they'll be very familiar with building materials, and each one of these has a unique material instance. So we could very quickly change the colors of all of them, give them their own sort of little personality in that way. Yes, we used a lot of mocap for this and animation libraries. That wasn't actually me dancing there. So,
trying to give you some
I know.
swagger.
Sorry, I just couldn't. I couldn't.
Couldn't own it.
Couldn't own that one. Yeah, because I was
Street cred,
You might see me later and ask me.
At the party.
It'll be at the mixer on Wednesday.
So it's a once you create these characters, it's a really easy way to kind of adapt their animation and give them all those unique personalities.
Yes, very unique. Okay, so knowing what we all know now, and what the project was and how it worked and how long it took, is there anything that you would have done differently from your perspective?
That's a tough question. Hard-hitting.
No, you can just say no.
No, yeah. I mean, honestly, this was a dream project for all of us, I think, on all sides of it. Hopefully I'm not speaking out of term with as much pain as there might have been behind the scenes at times. I think it was pulling together all of these really unique skill sets and teams across the world to do this. I think if we did it over, again, we would maybe wait for beta. Maybe that's one thing.
Really?
That's maybe the first thing. But I think the big thing, like I mentioned before, is we don't want to just create branded experiences, in virtual worlds. Like, we want to actually make really good games. And so I think we really did a great job at building the world. I think the gameplay was getting there, and it was a good quest. But I think for us, we want to continue to push that so that people want to come in and experience Nike and get this storytelling and connection to the products they love, but have a really snappy game. So I think that is where we are trying to learn, and where we're also going to be looking for great partners, in the future to help us do that, because we know that we can't do it alone.
So sort of same question to you, I suppose.
Yeah, from a sort of more technical perspective, as we were learning how UEFN worked and kind of tuning into the sort of memory profiling side of it, we really did kind of realize that we should probably done a lot more memory testing early on. And you've got to again understand that, I think I kind of previously mentioned this, but everything you put in there has such an impact on the game, and it's what my biggest advice is, just keep play testing. You really, and get as many people into that game to play test, and because it just helps you uncover all the sort of problems that you need to solve. So yeah, memory testing and QA play testing would be my sort of takeouts.
So Bryon, how do you guys at Nike actually feel about what we achieved? I'd love to hear about that.
Honestly, I think everyone was really happy, very happy, but also somewhat shell-shocked. I don't think that people at Nike really understood just the kind of scale and success of it. The numbers were great, so people were thrilled by that. But also, I think in an age where so much energy and investment goes into social media, and people are kind of responding to likes, to have people spend as much time as they did in the game, to have as many people come through the experience, I really think it was hard for parts of the organization to kind of metabolize the numbers and really just kind of understand it, because it was really successful by our terms. So I think for us, we're always looking for kind of what are the arenas of the future, where we can create experiences, where we can connect with athletes, we kind of are trying to target and reach the audiences and our fans in new ways. This was one of them, and it was massively successful by my standards, and I think the company was really happy with it, and will continue to pursue new experiences like this in the future.
Awesome.
Amazing.
So I think probably question to both of you, but let's start with Bryon. But what do you see the future being of this, like these types of experiences and working in this way?
I mean, just kind of how I just mentioned, I think people crave immersion in the things they love, right? Whether that's a brand, that's a film, some kind of story. So I think this is just, we're going to see more and more of this is the world building, brands trying to do this, being successful, not being successful. But for us, I think it's going to be something that we're going to deeply pursue because we do have incredible athletes, products, stories, people, we have fans of the brand and we want to be able to create experiences for people to come and connect with us in new ways. So I think that this is just kind of the beginning of it.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting question because I think if you sort of take a look at kind of trends in technology speaking, especially from a sort of VFX perspective. I always sort of tune into that kind of way of thinking, but it's, if you think of going back, oh gosh, like early 2000s when, big sort of Hollywood films, that's where you saw impressive visual effects. And then suddenly kind of that started filtering into more short form content. It became more accessible to create this kind of high-end visual effects. And I sort of think in a game sense that this same sort of thing has happened where, big AAA game studios, that technology was only kind of used by those big studios. And then suddenly now what we're seeing is this more sort of democratized way of making games. And that's what UEFN is. It's lowering that bar to entry to be able to make games that are, just as good looking as sort of AAA titles. Yeah. But obviously, there's a huge amount of dedication that goes into those big games. So I'm not trying to take any thing away from it, but it's just allowing creators to be able to publish their content a lot quicker. And I kind of think we're going to start seeing a lot more studios developing that have UEFN at the core of their, it's like their core technology. That they're building everything around that. And again, it kind of this idea of building IP in games that then translate into other forms of media.
Yeah, that's like what I mean. If my answer to this, I think, would be like what Bryon described earlier, which is where, you've built a game like this sort of, and these characters that are native in Fortnite, and then you've had those characters translate into all sorts of other platforms. So, as I said earlier with Max, what's on his Insta feed, like what's he doing on YouTube? It's like all content that can be built right from within the game. So like that feels, huh?
You could be his agent.
Do you reckon? Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Alex can drive him with the mocap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think also for me, like as a kind of creative being, though not an artist, like I think this tool means that we're going to have so many more creative people like building in our game and coming in, and it doesn't, there is space for everyone. I know we've said it a couple of times, but that's really exciting to me. That kind of diversity of creative minds, like all kind of, coming together in this space.
I do think like it is worth mentioning again, like for the creators out there, we are super excited to see what people are going to create, but we're always looking for partners in this, and not only in this space. Obviously, we create a ton of other types of content at the brand. And because this is so new, we are looking for those new partners. So don't hesitate to hit me up, reach out. We are really excited to see what teams are doing here. We want to innovate and create with people all over the world, because we really, really need your creativity to continue to innovate, in the brand space. And this tool specifically, I personally am really excited to see what everyone's going to do with it. You guys have built something really amazing.
Awesome. I can't believe we've hit time
I know, look
exactly.
At that. I know, look at that.
Insane, having never
First time for that. I know. Say as this project went, this is the first.
So thank you
So
so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your time.